Hello and welcome to the Torch Snuffers podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Garza, and with me is our entire panelist group tonight. We've got Alex Cash.
Hi.
Ben Mealy.
Hi, friends.
Elise Anderson. Stephen Lehman.
Okay.
Hi.
Prince Ty Hewitt.
Good evening.
And we are here to talk about...
two for once.
Oh, wonderful. It's
Hi.
great. We're all here. We have all merged together for this podcast in which we discuss the merge of Survivor Season 35, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. Sponsored by Outback Steakhouse, as we all know and love.
Like,
I can personally attest that my favorite dish there is the Alice Springs chicken.
I'm really impressed that you knew the very specific name of an Outback Steakhouse dish that was not not the bloomin' onion.
Yes.
Amazing.
There was no blooming onion reference. They completely dropped the bomb on like delivering like a giant blooming onion and like sitting it down in front of whoever they thought was going to get voted out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they did. They were too busy celebrating all these things I'd literally never heard of, like the chocolate thunder from down under.
Which is apparently a sex thing, if you ask Jessica.
Oh, yeah. Well, everything is something with her because, as we learned tonight, or maybe didn't learn tonight, she's a virgin, and...
Yeah, she's mentioned that like every other episode.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This isn't The Bachelor, and normally, like, contestants on The Bachelor, if they're a virgin, that's literally all they speak about the entire season. Jessica also talked about Cole, so...
Right.
There was some variety there. But anyway, yes, we have the merge. We have a lovely sponsorship thing, as usual. I think one of my favorite sponsorships was probably the 7-Up Oasis, because they just talked about how much they loved 7-Up the entire time and then like jumped in a pool. And they had like this one cooler of 7-Up and they just kept doing all these like crazy like aerial shots and like the close-up shot and everyone losing their mind over it. It was great.
Remember when Tina won Doritos?
yes. Back in the very first Survivor auction, they got to bid on like a mini bag of Doritos chips, and it was very hotly contested. Although
I love my favorite all time is still it's got to be the Casa de Charmin, which is the giant outhouse that Bruce fell asleep in, and then Bobby hit the one, leading to the great Kasaya blow up. Like it was so good. It was so good.
Survivor just seamlessly transitions into these product placements.
I have a soft spot for Pringles and beer from Vanuatu.
That's a good one too.
Oh my god!
Of course,
speaking of beer, did you notice that like all of the guys today drank beer and all the girls drank margs? And I like really didn't know if it was Outback / CBS being like sexist, or that's like really what everyone wanted in their heart. But like I definitely would have wanted a marg, and I'm a girl, so I don't know.
It is interesting.
We'll
It's
have to
interesting.
get the behind the scenes take on that if we ever interview one of the contestants from the season.
Oh, good idea. I'll file that away for when I harass past Survivor players into coming on our podcast. It'll be great.
Yes.
But anyway, so we celebrated the merge in a bit of an unorthodox sense, but nonetheless, the merge is here. We have heroes, healers, hustlers becoming one, and then becoming one healers and two hustler hero conglomerates. So as we saw, did not work out so hot for the healers, but this is Survivor. So anything can happen.
And they still have an idol. They have the only idol that's left because Dr. Mike has the idol. And also, I think of the healers that are left, Dr. Mike is still in a decent position because Ben likes him and Lauren likes him, and they are two like middle players tonight. So that being said, it wasn't a huge shock that like Cole and Jessica got eaten alive by people with brains, aka Chrissy and her minions. So it was. I thought it was pretty well done, like the editing tonight. Like it was kind of suspenseful. You saw a bunch of random people talking that don't usually talk. Like Devin talked a lot, so I'm figuring, oh, he might go. And Jessica talked a lot, so I figured, oh, she might be gone. And Cole did a bunch of stupid things. So like, there's enough like outliers kind of thrown out there, but yeah, it was not a surprise. It was not a surprise.
Honestly, I think this was like the best thing that could have happened to Cole. Like, I know he's in the minority now, but getting split up with Jessica, it sucks for him that she's not on the jury, but getting split up with Jessica without having to like turn on her, and then that keeps a target off his back in case the healers do survive, because they are still fairly close in numbers. So he is seen as a big threat still, but less so now that Jessica isn't there. So maybe there's a shot in hell for him. I don't know.
I like going both ways with that. Like, I see that in like one way, and then you can totally flip it like the other way because Jessica was the only person that was advocating for him. Yeah. Everyone else was very like, he's expendable, he's a liability. Like, she was it's really the only person that would have been able to like fight for him if things ever got like so bad that they had to like turn on one another. And so like, I think that like you can go either way with that argument.
That's true. Just kind of have to see out. And the thing is, I'm not even sure that Cole realizes any benefits to Jessica leaving, so I don't know if he'll even be able to like take advantage of that.
I know, we do see him in the preview for next week, like digging wildly for what is presumably an idol. So I don't know if he was like so desperate and so unsafe after Jessica left that he felt like in broad daylight he needed to dive down and get an idol, or like.
See, what I'd love to see happen was that was actually like a decoy where he's like doing a distraction, and then like Dr. Mike's off in the woods like finding the actual idol or something. But somehow I feel like that's not the case.
That would be pretty fantastic.
That would be.
Although we have seen Cole in the past just like speak first or like act first and then like think about the repercussions of that much later, if ever at all.
Yeah.
So it could go.
He probably
way.
found the idol there and then called everyone over and was like, "This is my way to get everyone to trust me again, to tell them where the idol is before I immediately start digging for it." And then Chrissy like jumps in there and is like, "No, that shit's mine," and just like goes in and
and like summons JP over.
World star.
I will say this: if Cole has any chance left, it's the fact that Joe is still there, and Joe is probably more outwardly obnoxious than Cole. Maybe it's kind of a race, but like, I'm a little bit surprised, like, because Joe got a weird positive edit last week, like the whole like talking about his kids and loving his kids and doing this for his kids and all that sort of business, and like that was completely gone this week. So like, I feel like maybe we'll get a little bit of that. I feel like one of them definitely goes next, though. I feel like it could be Joe, because you had Joe talking about how smart he is and how good of a read he is, and having the idol play on Alan and how smart he was that he 50-50 guessed which one they were voting for and got it right. And like, he was so smug about it, and he completely wasted his idol and screwed all of them tonight, other than Mike, who still has his own idol but doesn't give a shit about Joe, because that even came out during Tribal Council that he doesn't really like Joe because of Joe being Joe. So I don't know. If Cole's going to survive, it's because Joe's a mess, but Cole's also a mess. So who knows? That keeps it exciting, at least. But
with regard to Joe, I have something to say about his idol play. Of course he was going to play it on himself. If I was in the other alliance trying to guess who is he going to play an idol on, it would not even be like a real consideration that he would play it on someone else, just because like like he's so like outwardly, you know, I'm playing the most cutthroat game in front of all of y'all and saying this directly to your face, and I'm self-interested, and if I don't like the way a potato chip tastes, I toss it in the dirt before I give it to someone else. So if he's not going to give you his potato chip, he's not going to give you his idol.
Right.
Yeah. For me, it was just confusing that Joe was almost like giving a final tribal council speech at the merge tribal council, like puffing himself up, talking about how smart he was, strategic, all the shit he'd already done, like talking about his resume. And it's like, dude, there's 12 people left. You are not on day 39. You're not even halfway. You're on like day 17.
Right.
So that for me was a little insane, but it's also like so very Joe, because honestly, like the positive edit that we saw last week was literally like one sentence about his family.
Yeah.
And I think we were like slightly bamboozled by it, but now he's back and he's like Joe's doing Joe things and like saying Joe things. So, you know, we know who he really is. It's this like boisterous, self-important, like wannabe Tony.
Exactly.
Can I say, like, I don't like Joe. I don't think anything he said at Tribal Council did him any favors whatsoever. It was more so just confusing and frantic, which is, you know, typical Joe. But I will say that I don't hate the move. I don't agree with Ty where it's like that screwed over the healers. Yes, technically, because they didn't play it on Jessica, they're screwed now. But, like, if you're at merge, especially since we know now that it wasn't even for jury, like, I think if you have the idol, he's heard his name come up, he knows he's in danger, and like I really can't hate him for playing the idol on himself. I know it's a predictable move, but I think you kind of have to go for it in this instance. So yeah, just a small defense of Joe there.
I think that what it showed, what it ended up being is like, it ended up being a good episode because it ended up showing that everybody playing the game are playing like sound games of Survivor, like thinking logically about what's the best move to make at that time in the game. The majority ended up thinking about knowing that Joe would play the idol for himself and play correctly and like the Survivor. And I think that's a solid thing that I'm excited to see unfold as the next couple of rounds go by.
Yeah, I loved seeing that, like, really strategic, like, not only, like, who would we want to vote for, who might we want to vote for, who would be the backup to the backup, aka Jessica, as we saw them all sitting down together and making the decision together. Chrissy did seem like a vocal leader, but not in that, like, pushy, making people want to like topple her reign kind of a thing. It was just like, okay, I'm like a firm voice, and like others were backing her up and agreeing. So that was really great to see. And it was great to see, again, like the strategy of, okay, these people trust each other, and so we want to break them up, rather than just like the normal challenge that you always see, like, you know, harped over and over again come merge. So it's great to see they're using their minds with this and their bonds.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing that you noticed with Chrissy. Chrissy was a leader. She's like, let's talk about this. I have this idea. Why don't we have like we'll see. Joe might play his idol. He might even play it on Cole. So let's see who's the third person. But she didn't say, oh, we should do Jessica. She's like, who do you think the third person is? You guys get to choose because I don't care. And I think that shows just how savvy she is at this point of the game. So good for Chrissy. A+.
The thing that I really love about like how the lines got drawn together this episode is that on the surface, it looks like the heroes and the hustlers are just coming together to outnumber the healers because they have the most in terms of original numbers. But when you look at it, it makes like all of the interpersonal connections on those two tribes actually are really interesting when you look at it at a micro level, because you have Chrissy who has 2 close connections, you have Ryan who has 2 close connections, you have Ben who has 2 close connections. Everybody has multiple pre-existing connections, and it's not just a smorgasbord of people. Like, this is going to be exciting seeing like the two lines drawn now and the micro game once that comes to a head as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna sort of expound on that. I hope we're not in for a short little pagonging of the rest of the healers, but if we are, I think even like once it gets down to 7, it's still going to be interesting when we get there because there are so many interpersonal connections, and I mean I don't even think we're going to have a pagonging because I mean we have focus with Lauren and Mike. I mean we have people who are connected to each other through the healers as well, so I don't think even if it is a, bam, 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 bam sort of pagonging, which I hope it isn't, I think it's going to get interesting after that. And I also want to sort of comment on how I thought Chrissy played off tonight really well and was just very savvy. Little tidbit though, I enjoyed her a little bit at the merge feast when she was trying to stage whisper to Ben, and he was worried that they couldn't, like, that they'd overhear them. And Chrissy had a good retort with, "They can't hear me. The wind is too loud." And I just thought that was really like very like Chrissy to do. So I just
she was calculating the volume of the wind versus the volume of her voice in her mind, like
yeah,
levels. She's like,
it was 900 times louder or something.
With regard to the the philosophy of getting rid of a challenge threat, once the merge hits, I don't think that's necessarily something that has to happen like at the first or the second vote of the merge anymore, just because the merge is long now, 12, even 13 people. So the best way to get rid of a challenge threat is let them win a few, because they can't win them all. And as soon as they're vulnerable, there you go. They've painted the target on themselves. You didn't have to say a word. So I think that's the better way to go about it.
Yeah, they talked a lot about lines being drawn in the sand this episode, or a commercial did. I don't remember which, but either way, it totally makes sense here. They're seeing where the divide is, who is with who, and then now moving forward, they can strategically take out challenge threats if they want to. But it'll definitely be interesting to see if that line really does hold or if it starts shifting around. As I wrote notes out today, I just kept writing pairs of names, and then I'd be like, oh wait, and do an arrow to like another name and another name, because everyone is so tight knit with a few different people that are not necessarily going to come together as like a little group. So it'll be really, really fun to see like which pairs or which groups go the distance and which end up being betrayed. It might be a season or like a merge of explosive blindsides and like emotional reactions, kind of like we saw with Allie and Ryan already last week.
I just wanted to say that, like, you also have to think about, in this day and age of Survivor, who is the challenge threats? Because we saw, like, this week, like, typically when you think, oh, he's a challenge threat, you think, like, the young, buff, muscular guys. But, like, for example, this, when it switches from tribal to individual immunity, I feel a lot of the time we're doing more of, like, these, like, today we had a focus and balance challenge, which I thought it was a really cool challenge, but we get a lot more into balance challenges, do like puzzle solving, like run, get puzzles, but it's not so much about physical strength anymore. So I think just labeling, oh, Cole's obviously gonna do great at all these challenges, or oh, Joe's gonna do great at all these challenges, kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure that they thought that through altogether. Like, I see it's fine to get rid of them, but I think someone, like we saw Desi and was it Ashley doing so well at this challenge, I could see them continuing to do really well at these challenges without anyone thinking, oh yeah, she's the amazing challenge threat. I don't know.
Ben, I think you are trying to say something, but are muted.
I am trying to say something, and it's not coming out because of the red button. I wanted to toot the horn of the challenges and just like the development of the game of Survivor, because I think that it has been something that's been cognizant in recent season. Like, they are making the challenges more varied so that a different skill set is needed to win each challenge, and you're not going to be like one less and less are having all of the skills to be able to win challenge after challenge because they're focusing on those different skill sets. And I think that's a really good thing for the game because it means that what the stereotypical like first 15 seasons challenge threat people are not what people think of or look like anymore. So it focuses more on the game of Survivor versus what a stereotypical person looks like.
Yeah, it's that mind-body connection that I don't have. So there goes my shot.
Yeah, so an interesting thing about this challenge is that, me and my little Survivor obsession here, I watch more than just, US. So I had a little bone to pick with Jeffrey Probst this evening. So he said this was a brand new challenge, and it is not. In Australian Survivor, the two most recent seasons have had this challenge where you do the ball around the wheel. I think they might have added a balance beam, but the actual concept was done in Australia for the past 2 years. And I think first time they did it, it went like 5 hours, and the second time it went like 3. So like, the Australians don't joke. Like all their endurance challenges go like 5 hours plus. Like
They're like Aussie.
Aussie.
I do have to ask, Steven.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how many times that is compared to how Ryan did in the challenge? Could you
a lot.
Calculate that for me?
A lot. I am not a math assassin as Chris is.
What I do love about a challenge like this is that it's not built just for the big buff people to win, but you do have to not be a complete lump. And Ryan just completely and utterly failing at the challenge after 2 seconds. And Probst giving him absolute crap, like, for the rest of the time. Like, it's interesting because Ryan, to me, is kind of like a poor man's Cochran or a poor man's Rob Sesternino with his early arc with Devin and all that sort of business, which is usually who somebody like Probst loves. Like, usually, like, he gets the last name treatment and all that sort of business. He apparently does not like Ryan because he just spent the entire rest of the episode crapping on him. I don't know if it goes back to, like, last Tribal Council, like, before tonight, where, like, he was kind of giving Allie as much ammunition as she could to, like, kind of fight for herself, and Ryan just was a good little boy, did what Chrissy wanted, and got rid of somebody who had been completely loyal to him. Like, but it seems clear that, like, Edgic is always in the back of my head, and Ryan has no shot at winning because Probst hates him, and I feel like that wouldn't be obviously coming out if his game wasn't basically over, which also kind of showed tonight in that Devin was shown driving the strategy of targeting Cole and Joe more than Ryan was, or at least in the early on set, which was something I never would have expected. So yeah, Ryan's dead, and that challenge was great. It was a fun challenge. It was good stuff.
I had honestly not considered that. That is so smart because we kind of have this theory in our panel that Allie was given such an incredible edit despite being pre-merge that maybe she's going to return on a future season because she was such a favorite of probably all of us plus Jeff Probst. So if Probst feels like his girl Allie has been betrayed by Ryan, I definitely see him kind of like, digging the knife in or like teasing when he could. Although I thought it was like really funny today. Like I thought Jeff was doing all of that in good fun because really like 2 seconds is pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think I might have world's worst balance, and I have faith that I could get to like double-digit seconds before dropping in that challenge.
That's like Crystal Cox levels.
Ryan's an Olympic athlete.
And for all of you who might not have mental math down yet, that is 5 times longer than Ryan.
That will never get old.
Chrissy, math queen. She is a financial analyst, though. So, I mean, if anyone was going to be out there doing those mental calculations, it would be her.
Yep.
Unless Debbie was on the show, and then we'd have like, her upteenth millionth job of like
that is one.
calculator.
Can we do like a Chrissy versus Debbie versus a nuclear scientist Jatia season? Because I feel like there's an opportunity for that.
Yeah, they should be the team captains and draft like old Survivor players to like they want on their tribes, and like that should just be the season.
I would watch that.
Yes.
That would be so scary. Let's hope they never like run out of ideas and like it doesn't.
I mean, they have already. I feel like because no offense.
On a short ledge.
I mean, Heroes, Healers, and Hustlers. Let's have a second season with the name Heroes already.
Steven, the alliteration. Those triple.
No, I love alliteration. Believe me, I am all for alliteration. But
Steven, you have to understand, it's all about the game and how you play it. All right, come on now. That's
but
what it's all
heroes
about.
versus villains was a
nothing.
theme.
Yes.
It made sense. Heroes versus healers versus hustlers.
3 words that start with an H. It's like so.
How many other ways can we like play the game? There was like the collars. There was like the red collar, blue collar, white collar thing. It's kind of like, I don't know.
Why can't we just go somewhere else and then we can go back to like Survivor India or whatever?
Another option would be taking 20 people and dividing them up randomly and not giving them an arbitrary three.
Even where would the alliteration be with that season?
East Coast versus West Coast. I just thought of one.
Good one. We'll do liberals versus conservative next, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if we got Triple H this season, we're going to get like 4H next season. We'll add like another H tribe, which will be like the Hamburglers or something.
like the people who have like horses at the county fair.
Yeah. It'll be like the homeowners, and like no millennials will be on the tribe.
You know what'd be even better is if they just like randomly selected the teams, but then came up with like super like meaningful like H words to go along with it without it like actually corresponding.
Just now?
I have it. So you have them like divided into tribes, but just like randomly. But then you have them name what their commonality is. So it's like, everybody decides that, we're all like neat ladies. So it's the lady tribe.
Off with the team builder.
Oh, my favorite tribe in the world would be that right there.
Oh my god, what about like like 3 different tribes of like the things that people always hate about like Survivors, like the lazies versus like the lovers.
Yeah.
Or they should do like the I think I'm Parvati versus I think I'm Boston Rob versus I think I'm Andrea versus I think I'm Russell season.
And bring the 4 of them back to lead each tribe. Oh god.
Oh my god. There would be so much delusion. It would be so great. That would make some really good and terrible television.
Oh, I forgot. They need to add the I think I'm playing an original game that no one's ever thought of.
Yeah.
Tribe. That's always one.
Yes.
Survivor cast bios.
Wait, who was that? Was that Joe that said that or Alan?
Alan.
Oh my god. And
just bring back Alan Ball.
Panelist prediction. Yeah. We think that Alan might win this. He might take it. He's definitely the top contender for like a Redemption Island scenario. Should that be brewing off the coast of?
There's an Outcast twist, I swear.
Outcast twist where it'll be, and since we know that Probst hates Ryan so much, he'll probably just be like, for this Outcast twist, we will have Alan versus Ryan in the spinning your ball around challenge, and whoever lasts the longest will come back in the game, and whoever loses goes home.
Real quick, in actual Pro Islands, some people came back with a Die Jerks buff in the Outcast, so I can't wait for like Alan or Allie to come back with that like on their forehead, like Die Jerks before they come back. God, we're really grasping for straws tonight.
Hey, better that all of these ideas be tossed around here in our podcast tonight than around the boardroom at Survivor.
CBS, don't listen to us in this instance, please, unless you're bringing back.
I know you listen to us for everything else, but for these ideas, stay away.
Oh, God, I can't wait for Jeff Probst to get our hot takes.
I think we just all need to have jobs as Survivor producers.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, guys.
Anything this discussion disqualified us.
No, okay. Oh my God, I've got it. The next season of Survivor, podcast versus panel versus podcast panel versus podcast panel. Like us and Rob has a podcast and
we're gonna
We're
lose.
definitely one of the
We're gonna
top three
lose.
podcasts.
The Australian podcast is anything like these Survivor Australia players that Steven was talking about. We're fucked.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine. We've got our brains, y'all. We're good.
Yeah, we're like Oolong and
Once we
Luzon.
get to the puzzle challenge, we'll try and finish it.
Don't worry, guys. We can all take a trip together to the Amazon to prepare for this.
Yep. Take a page out
Let's
of
just not run into any pygmies, which definitely exist in the Amazon and not in Africa.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, what an exciting rest of our series, rest of our season. The possibilities are truly endless on Survivor. Apparently.
So long as they're alliterative, they are endless.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless with the themes that could come up, with the product placement that could be, in the future. I just can't wait to find out.
I think I saw the light go out of Jeff Probst's eyes when he had to say the lava cake. When he had to
Thunder from down under.
You could just see that this was his low. Not his talk show. That was that product placement broke him. And I feel so bad.
I
Glad that Ryan failed
thought
the
he
challenge.
sounded really enthused for the ribeye. I was salivating as he was describing the bone-in, cooked
Right.
any way you like it.
Yeah.
Which is every
Right.
steak ever, by the way.
Right, precisely.
Always
also
cooked the way you want it.
It's almost as if Jeff Probst doesn't go to Outback Steakhouse on a regular basis.
Does anyone?
Inconceivable.
I go often enough to know what my favorite thing there is.
That's true. You do. You do have the Aztec chicken.
It's the Alice Springs chicken. By the way, I think it was appropriate that they had an Australian challenge because this episode was Aussie rules, which, as we all know, is no rules, just right.
Oh, that's perfect.
And if we didn't all know that before, we know it now.
Now you know.
An Outback Steakhouse.
I feel like this is a missed opportunity to just have Probst take a day off and have Sandra flown in to do the product placement for Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Or don't they have actual Australians? What about someone from Survivor? Tina. Tina was there in Australia.
Right.
You can totally fake an Australian accent for a day, right? We know that that Outback Steakhouse waitress woman had to be a member of production. Just really.
We can get Superman in a fat suit, Colby Donaldson, to come back.
Let's say get Colby's mom. No, get Colby's mom.
We know full well if Probst gets to pick who comes back from Australia, it would be Amber so that Boston Rob can come with. Come on, people. Let's be realistic.
I don't know why we're also on this podcast because we are already going to be producers for the show. It's already for a solution. These are goals.
Good Lord.
Oh my god. All right. So I think I'm going to stop it before we reach new highs or new lows. I'm not sure which one. But thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We will see you next week for another exciting episode.